talk about the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator. I don't know what happened to my notes. I had the spiritual gifts and MBTI both in my hand, and I stuck the wrong ones in my folder this morning. Well, I've talked about MBTI enough that I think I can do this off the top of my head. But first of all, I want to know, see, I had this sheet. First, I'll list all of our gifts of the Spirit. Did you take the spiritual gifts inventory? Do you know what your spiritual gifts are?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with them? Does anybody want to share?
Well, I had 4 areas, 2 with 9s and 2 with 8s. The ones with 9s, leadership and encouragement. And 8s, knowledge, wisdom.
Does that surprise you? I hear you
I
chuckle.
feel like that's a big work in progress. But I do, there's one thing I do ask for. It's like, give me wisdom to make the right decisions. I think that's a daily, perpetual prayer of mine.
But to recognize that it's a gift, that you already have it.
Yeah, I need help shaping it and using it for good.
Thank you, Mary. Anybody else want to share?
Well, mine was, I had the highest one was 8 was in assisting, and then a couple of 7s were leadership and encouragement. And I wasn't quite sure about the leadership one, so sometimes I kind of like let somebody else lead, and I will definitely assist.
And assist was your number one gift, right?
So, yeah.
But you can take charge if you have to. Yeah.
Well, the other thing
Yeah.
is, when we get into personality types, I think that you're an introvert. An introvert does leadership differently than an extrovert would. An extrovert would be the one that's out there taking charge. An introverted leader would be doing it in a different way. So it makes total sense to me. So claim it, just claim it. That's something I want you all to learn to do, is to claim it. Is there anybody else that would like to share their spiritual gifts?
Well, I had several that were evenly matched. So, teaching, encouragement, assisting, compassion, and interestingly enough, miracles.
That's cool.
That is very cool.
But I think it's so just not in the way that you would think of miracles happening always. It's, the miracle of seeing the rainbow when I'm walking in the driveway and it's perfectly sunny out. It's a beautiful morning, but it's the first time I had the strength to actually walk down my driveway, and that was a miracle for me.
And I think when I talked about miracles, it's not just like, we often think of healing miracles, but I think being aware of the miracles around us
Yes.
is part of that gift. Not everybody sees those things, they just kind of, they might see it and, okay, big deal, but to appreciate it and to value it.
That was well said. Thank you.
Anybody else?
And I was thinking that things change as well as you get older and old. Because the things that you want to do that you used to do being able to accept what you can do isn't, I mean, it's, you do what you can, I guess. I don't know.
And does that relate to your spiritual gifts in some way? Did you want to share your gifts that you came up with?
Well, it's hard where I am now to know, I mean, not everybody wants to see things the way I see them.
But
And
Linda, did you do the survey?
I did half of it.
What came out as number one for you? What was your highest number?
Oh, I didn't get that far.
Oh, okay.
Gifts of the Spirit, I don't know.
So you're talking about spiritual gifts from your perspective,
Right.
not from the
Right.
test.
Yeah. I- The gifts of D, the gifts C, I'm not sure where G found that. 8 characteristics,
Okay, that's the personality type.
yeah.
In your hand is the spiritual gifts stuff, has the different listings of the spiritual gifts. But I just wondered if you'd taken the inventory.
Yeah. It's just,
But what I hear you,
Because she's got some numbers on those.
can I?
yeah.
Okay. What I hear you saying is that where you're at now, people around you are not seeing things in the same way that you are.
Right. Yeah. You gotta fill me out.
I don't know, I think I agree with all of a lot
We
of
can
stuff
do
the way
that.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
God, everybody else is.
I'm sure, where you live, yeah.
Well, it's like living in Pretty Prairie, where it's like, do I surround myself with people of a different culture? I mean, no, there aren't
Yes.
any,
Yeah,
you know, so,
especially where you live, yeah, it's pretty.
yeah, it's, yeah.
But I would say you possess a lot of knowledge and wisdom
But yeah,
that,
Do I know when to keep my mouth shut, you mean?
you've got a lot of knowledge. And you do have lots of wisdom.
and you encourage, you always say, you do the
Yes.
best you can.
And
Yeah,
that's,
Linda's two highest are giving and encouragement.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's probably,
Giving and encouragement, that makes sense to me.
She's
Yeah.
not finished yet, so I would probably say that there's a lot more in here that would
Yeah.
be tied with those.
yeah.
So, yeah. There's a
Well,
lot
I
of
found my notes, and I want to be sure and get to the Myers-Briggs. So thank you for those of you that shared. Let me see, my paper is here. If you would like to put down your gifts of the Spirit, I'm going to pass this sheet around and you can put your name. There's a list of the gifts on the left-hand side and what scriptures they come from, and then there's places to put your name. I've claimed mine, so I figured if I can do it, y'all can do it too. So, but I think it'll be good for us to know what gifts and what personality types we have. So, many people find it a relief to find out what kind of person they are. And it can also be good to know what kind of people other people are. Not to put them in a box or to label them, but to have some sense of what their personality preferences are, which is what the Myers-Briggs is all about. I'm Billie Blair. I'm an introvert. I like and need time for myself to think and to process what's happening around me. I'm intuitive. I have empathy and I care for other people. And I can sense things about people and situations that are not spoken out loud. Sometimes I know things about people not specifics, not that I could really put words to, but I know things that they haven't told me. I'm a feeling personality, which means I base my decisions on how my decisions will affect other people. And I'm a perceiver. I want to get all the information that I can before making a decision. I also enjoy spontaneity and the unexpected. And I'm enough, just as I am, just as I am. I have a friend that took the Myers-Briggs. She first introduced me to it, and she didn't like her personality type at all. It was offensive to her until she lived into it, until she really gave it some thought and realized that's who she was. She had a very messy desk, but she considered herself very organized. And the thing is that she knew where everything on her desk was. Somebody else coming in and looking at it wouldn't know that she knows that. But she was very orderly, it just didn't look like it. And it was important to her to be orderly, but there was something about her Myers-Briggs that made her think maybe she wasn't orderly. Anyway, she struggled with it at first, and that's okay. Just like the gifts of the Spirit. Sometimes there's something we're not quite sure about. How can that be me? The Myers-Briggs Personality Indicator was developed by a mother-daughter team, Isabel Myers and Catherine Briggs. It's based on the work of Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. And to be transparent, the MBTI has been debunked by some psychologists and some psychiatrists. I've been using this since the mid-'80s, and I found it to be very helpful. I've even used it in premarital counseling with couples. I had one couple, the main thing was that she was an introvert and he was an extrovert. They lived together, they drove to work together, they worked in the same place, although different departments. They rode home together, and when they got home, she needed some time and space, and he wanted to talk about what happened. And when he recognized that she was an introvert, he could give her 15 or 30 minutes when they first got home, so she could just kind of collect herself and calm down and relax. And it really helped their relationship a lot. So knowing other people's types can be helpful. The Myers-Briggs identifies personality types by looking at 8 personality preferences. These aren't skills or abilities. These are things that we prefer in life. We use all 8 personality characteristics at some time, but some are preferred. And the preferred, the functions that are not our preferred ones might put us outside of our comfort zone, like an introvert being asked to lead a group. That just would be off the scale for an introvert, for many of them. I'm an extroverted introvert. I'm just really close on the line, so I need that time and space alone, but I can also work with groups. And I've spoken to as a larger group, it's 200, so I can do it. Knowing our personality type helps us know how we learn, how we relate to others, how we function and interact in an office or work situation, or even in a church. More specifically, the 4 categories, and if you want to pull out this sheet of paper, the 4 categories help us understand where we get our energy. That's the introvert-extrovert part. How we take in information. That's the sensing, intuitive part. How we evaluate information and make decisions. That comes from the thinking, feeling part of a personality. And then our general lifestyle preferences is the J and P. J stands for judging, and I don't like to use that word because it sounds judgmental, and J personalities are not necessarily judgmental. It's a word translated from the Swiss that turned into judging in English. So I use J personality, and P is perceiver, and I use P, J and P personalities. The MBTI gives each person a type consisting of 4 letters, like INFP, ESTJ, and there's 14 others. The MBTI identifies what one most likes or prefers from the 4 sets of 8 preferences, and there's 16 possible types. The intent, again, is not to put people in a box or to label them. The result from taking the MBTI inventory is an indicator of what our preferences are. If somebody comes up with a type that just doesn't feel comfortable, just explore and look at the other types and see if there's something else that feels better. The other thing is that it's been discovered that teachers especially might have one type if they take this inventory at work, and if they take it while they're on vacation or relaxed, they'll come up with a different type. And I think preachers as well. I think I know I shared with the other church, that there's a predominant number of pastors who are introverts, who are INFPs, and it doesn't seem to fit what we're called to do. So if we took the inventory when we're in the church, working in the church, it might look different than when we were at home. So what I'd like to do is to go over the 8 characteristics and have this group kind of determine what, hopefully you've taken the inventory, I don't know. If you haven't, on the lower left-hand corner of this page, there's the 8 different characteristics, and I invite you to mark down which one you think you are, or which one came up in the test, the inventory if you took it. I don't want to use the word test. Use a vacation frame of mind while considering these characteristics. As I said, teachers can show different results at school than at home. Okay, for an extrovert might say, I am energized when I talk with people. I'm relatively easy to know, and people find me friendly, outgoing, and enthusiastic. I'm comfortable meeting new people. I have many friends and acquaintances. I develop ideas and reach conclusions by talking out loud. I prefer verbal communication to writing, and I'm restless and lonely if I spend too much time alone. An extrovert enjoys groups, they like interaction, they're outgoing, they're focused outward, they like variety and action, and they enjoy discussing. An introvert might say, I feel a little awkward at social events where I don't know many people. I enjoy talking one-on-one with other people. I tend to have a few close friends. I let others approach me instead of approaching them. I feel drained after spending a lot of time with others. I avoid being the center of attraction. I prefer to work on tasks alone. This is where we get our energy, being extroverted out in the world or being introverted, going inside. I have a friend that's an extrovert, and she went to a 5-day academy on spiritual formation, which the United Methodist Church offers. And if you go, you sit and listen to a speaker for an hour or so, and then they send people off to their rooms quietly and alone to ponder what they've heard, like 6 times over. It's a 3-day academy, I think it is. And this friend said, Billie, you would love this. I almost went crazy because she needed somebody to process with. To just sit with her own thoughts didn't help her process what had happened. And I was out at the retreat center at the time and wasn't around people much at all except on the weekends. And I about went crazy just because there were too many words being spoken. I wanted more quiet time. Extroverts need to experience the world to understand it, to be out in it among people. They process information verbally and find it easy to talk to most people. They're plugged into the world. Introverts are reserved and quiet. They need time to themselves. They think and reflect before speaking or acting. In a school situation, it's the extroverts that's going to raise their hand before they even have an answer when a question's asked. An introvert's going to think about it, and after that part of the lesson's over with, then they're going to come up with an answer. Oh, I wish I'd said that. I had something to say. My daughter is an introvert, and she often starts conversations in the middle of a thought because she's processing inside, and she thinks I can hear that, all that stuff going on. We all need to make allowances for differences in one another instead of assuming a certain behavior is wrong. So, do you know what you are? Are you an extrovert or an introvert? And throughout all of this, I have many people who have said, well, I'm both. And like I said, I'm an extroverted introvert. That's possible. You can be very introverted or very extroverted or anywhere on a continuum. So, we'll go with that. How many introverts do we think we have here?
How many what?
Introverts. I'm not, I'm not surprised at all. It's a pretty introverted group. And that's not saying anything
I love
bad.
being an extrovert.
Yes.
I'll go up and talk to people that I don't know,
Mhm.
you know, and
But just to know that most everybody else in this room
I
is an
know.
introvert is important to know.
And I'm just kind of sitting here thinking, I wonder if, like, through life, and I'm kind of thinking way back when I was a kid, I remember being more talkative and outgoing, and through the years, I have withdrawn. And I wonder if maybe I have a feeling I was criticized and disciplined a lot. Maybe I would have been an extrovert.
And Mary, that's very possible because life experiences can put pressure on us. It's not that we've changed. You may still be an extrovert, but because of life experiences.
Introverted extrovert. I mean, I do
That could
find
be too.
myself, yeah, I certainly do draw energy from being by myself. But at the same time, you know, if I have to, I can lead a group.
Uh-huh. Well, and that doesn't mean that an introvert can't lead a group unless a person is strongly introverted and it's just, I'm not going to do that, no way, shape, or form. It's more where we get our energy. I have a friend that's clergy now, but when she was going through the inner workings on trying to decide whether or not to seek ordination, she did all this processing on her own and then told her husband, I'm going to go to seminary and be an ordained pastor. Never included him in the process of her thinking at all because she had to do it on her own inside. It was a little unfair to her husband, but that's the way she had to do it. And it worked out for that couple. So, but we do have things happen to us in life that don't necessarily change us, but encourage limitations on who we are as our authentic self. So thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
If you don't mind, can I share
Sure,
something?
of course.
Well, I was, the only daughter and then the youngest, and there was 5 years difference between me and my youngest brother. And so I was kind of like an only child in a way, because when they were 14, they went to work on a farm, so during the summers, it was just me and my mom and dad and everything. And so it really was a lot like an only child. But so I think that sometimes the family dynamics can make a difference. And as an adult, so one time I was talking about, I don't know how it came up, but I've always been better one-on-one with a friend. Like you get me in a group of, women that might be friends or whatever. And I don't know, it almost seems like I have a personality change or something. And I don't think I'm, maybe as likable as I am one-on-one. It's kind of a weird thing. And so, I was kind of sharing with my mom about, a group of girlfriends that we had common interest in some craft things that we were doing and stuff. And but I felt kind of like that I wasn't really accepted in the group or something. It was kind of weird. And she made the comment, well, you've always been better one-on-one. And, I didn't really recognize that until, talked about it out loud, that it is so true, and it's just how I am, it's just like, I don't know, it's just me, but.
And how you are is okay.
It is.
And what happens is we think inside of us that we're not acceptable to other people. We do that to ourselves. It's
Yeah.
not necessarily anything anybody else is doing or saying. It's, I feel uncomfortable here. It's that being in a situation outside our comfort zone, because you're not an extrovert, and yet you're in a situation with more people than comfortable with, and so that pushes it. stresses a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna guess that that's kind of what's happening. Does that sound like it makes sense?
Sure,
You're
yeah.
outside your comfort zone a bit.
I think so, for sure,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't realize that for years, you know? So, you know, now that I think about that and it's just good to be self-aware of that, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
It helps us understand who we are.
It does, yeah.
It also helps understand that other people aren't doing things to us, that we're putting it on them, often, not always,
Sure.
but oftentimes, because of our insecurities or our lack of understanding who we are and how we are. We think they're doing something, but it's coming from inside. Because I felt invisible most of my childhood, and I know that part of that is the introversion. So, well, let's go on to sensing and intuitive. A sensing person might say something like, I tend to be practical, realistic, and matter of fact. I'm more interested in facts and figures than theories. I tend to speak, hear, and interpret things literally. I like hands-on projects. I like to use skills I already have mastered. I focus on the here and now instead of speculating about the future. A sensing person prefers facts, concrete information. They're practical, realistic. They value common sense. An intuitive, and we use an N for intuitive because the I's already been used for introvert. So an intuitive is N. An intuitive might say, I rely on hunches, inspiration, and imagination for a lot of my information. I like abstractions and theories and find details boring. I can read between the lines in a situation and imagine or speculate about what is not said. I'm not always aware of what's going on around me. I look for underlying patterns in the big picture. I like to think about new possibilities and focus on what might be. I'm inspired, I'm imaginative, I value innovation, I'm speculative, and I'm future-oriented. And this is all about how we take in information. A sensing person takes in information through their 5 senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. They pay attention to facts and specific data. They describe events literally and expect others to do the same. Like, there was a group that was invited to describe an apple. And the sensors said things like, they're red, they come off of a tree, they're often crunchy, they could be yellow or green, where an intuitive person might say, well, the apple was plucked from the tree and put in a basket and then traveled by train to Kansas, or they'll tell a story. And you're laughing because?
Because I'm an intuitive.
Okay. Intuitive pays more attention to their sixth sense, to their hunches and their insights. They prefer not to be literal or follow a logical sequence. They're interested in possibilities and they're open to change. A sensing person is more like an adding machine where you punch in the numbers and you pull the handle. An intuitive is more like a computer. Just come up with the answer and you don't know how you got it. Communication can be difficult between a sensing person and an intuitive person because they each see the world so differently, and each believes that his or her information is more accurate, valid, and real. So, do we have any sensing people in the room? Okay. So does that mean the rest of you are intuitives?
That's what it says anyway.
Okay.
I look at these lists and I could see myself doing both. I mean, in my job, I remember
have to.
early on, I mean, our county was one of the last counties to have COVID cases, and I made the mistake of
Is this you?
using the phrase "going with my gut." Oh, the newspaper editor really had fun with me on that one. But then again, I mean, it was very early in the pandemic. We really didn't know what was going on. Kingman County didn't have any cases to speak of. I knew it was going to happen at some point. I couldn't tell you why. So, yeah, there you have it.
Yep. Anybody else have any comments about sensing and intuitive?
Yeah, I ended up with an intuitive, but I'm going like, in this list right here, I'm going back and forth. It's like, I'm going like, I don't know.
And
Yeah.
being careful not to label people, I would have guessed that you were sensing.
Me too.
I would have guessed
Yeah,
that.
but I'm not always aware of what's going around me.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes, you know, I'm going like, okay, that's true, but some of these other things, I'm going like, I don't know about some of those others, so I don't know how I answered, that might have slipped me over. But the thing is, well, I guess it was the other one that was saying the percentages. Did this one say percentages? Oh, yeah. Intuitive, 64%. I don't know, I thought that was kind of high because I look at this list and I'm going like,
And the thing is, you could be an intuitive, that it has a strong sensing capability as well.
Yeah.
So, and, I mean, you could be on the continuum.
Because if I would have read through this list and some of this, I would have gone like, well, I think I'm yes, you know, but you know, but like I said, there's some of these that hit right on the intuitive, and so, yeah.
Well,
And
I hope,
if you're, excuse
go
me,
ahead.
if you're a little ADD, that puts you right over in the intuition side.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, look at my personality traits here. I still have it pulled up online here. Yeah, intuitive, 51%. Like right on the line. And
Yes, you are.
with extroverted and introverted,
Uh-huh.
I'm 52%. So,
I'm going to go ahead and send this sheet around. This is to mark down what your MBTI is, if you're comfortable doing so. I want to go ahead, I don't know if I'm going to get through all of these or not. Thinking and feeling. A thinking personality might say, I value my ability to think and make decisions logically and clearly. I like to debate and defend my point of view. I like to debate. People sometimes see me as impersonal, not caring about their needs and feelings. I don't usually display my feelings. I make decisions based on the general principles of justice and logic more than on personal circumstances or concerns. I can be blunt and outspoken. It's more important to be truthful than tactful. A thinking person is firm-minded, analytic, objective, direct. They value competence. They're good at critiquing. They can be seen as insensitive. They usually don't take things personally. A feeling person, on the other hand, might say, I value my ability to be empathetic and compassionate. I like to talk about interpersonal relationships and emotions. In my decision-making process, it's important how others will be affected. It's important to be tactful as well as truthful. I take criticism personally, and I have been accused of being too sensitive. And I have a therapist that says, none of us are too sensitive. It's being empathetic and caring about people. I like that.
good.
I have trouble speaking up about what I want or need, and it's difficult for me to tell people I disagree with them. Feeling people are gentle-hearted, sympathetic, tactful, decide with their hearts. They value harmony. They are seen as over-emotional. They are appreciative, and they take things personally. They have a need for appreciation. This is how we evaluate information and make decisions. Thinking people place more value on consistency and fairness than on how people might feel. They examine and weigh the logical consequences of their actions and choices. Decisions are made more analytically and impersonally, where an F makes decisions more subjectively according to their values and how others will be affected. They pay a lot of attention to relationships. Although thinkers do not always display their feelings, they do have real feelings. And even though feeling people may not verbalize their logic, they are completely capable of logical thought. The two simply use different criteria for making decisions, and they can complement each other. So, I'm a feeling person.
I have something to say on this.
Okay.
My brother's a thinking person and I'm a feeling. And when I read about both, it helps me communicate with him so much better. I totally get him better than I
Yes.
used to.
Yes, and that's one of the important reasons for learning about these kind of things. I had a person in the first church I served say, why didn't we learn about this stuff in school? It would have made
Good question.
It could have made communication much more easy,
Might
getting along.
made school maybe a more positive experience for some folks.
Right, right. And even in today's society, being able to accept other people in how they think or feel, or take in information or get their energy. Knowing those kind of things could be important, could make a difference in our world right now. Any other comments? Do we have any thinking people in here?
I think I might be.
A T?
I mean, I can, like, I feel like I'm too sensitive a lot of times. But I think mostly I'm a thinking person, especially in the workplace where, like, I don't know, I had somebody that I was his supervisor, and, and I was kind of like, just I'm just being honest, you need to do this and this and this, and, this is unacceptable and stuff. And when I retired, he wrote in my card that, he appreciated my no,
BS.
yeah, and so, I mean, we got along, and I think it's, I don't, yeah, I mean, I pretty much, I like to talk about things, and stuff, feelings and everything, and I do feel like I'm sensitive sometimes, but anyway, so it's kind of, it's a hard one for me, but.
I think you're on the line,
Yeah.
because you've got some feeling, but then you can be really straightforward and kind of blunt, which
Yeah.
is fine.
And-
I like it.
And what I was going to say, it could be the continuum thing, where
Right.
you're kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
It could be that in your workplace that you behave and react differently than you would at home.
I think so.
Sometimes you just,
I had another
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
too, but I can't remember what it was.
sometimes you just gotta be. You just gotta be. I mean, I'm 55% feeling, but I've had the discipline, especially one person, and when I deal with her, and this is kind of an ongoing situation with her, I just say, people are talking to me and telling me that they have concerns about you, so I think it's time you need to be careful. You need to watch yourself. So,
And see, as a feeling person, that's one of the hardest things in the world for me, is to know how to discipline somebody or set them straight. I just
I had to
don't
fire
want to do it.
somebody. That was hard. Yes,
you
yes.
have the facts in front of you, and we probably said, this is what I see, this is what I've experienced, and based on this,
Yeah, that's still not easy.
it is, yeah.
Let's go on to the J and the P. A J personality dislikes having things undecided, and sometimes will make a decision even before they have all the information, just because they want a decision made. They might say, I find it hard to be comfortable if my surroundings are disorganized or cluttered. This is my friend Renee's desk. She had a cluttered desk, but in her mind she knew where everything was, so it wasn't cluttered in her mind. I have my particular ways of doing things. It's important for me to be on time and don't understand why it's not important to others. I like to know schedules and time frames. If there's no plan, I'm uneasy. My daughter is definitely a J. She has a to-do list every day, and she marks it off. I make a to-do list and do other things and write them on my to-do list so I can mark them off. But she tells me that, Mom, I have to have a plan.
Yep.
I can change my plan, but I have to have a plan. I can end up doing something different, but I've got to have the plan.
You have to go back to the plan.
J person seeks closure, they value structure, they plan ahead, they work now, play later. They like to finish their work before they can relax and have fun. A P personality would say, I'm relatively easygoing, adaptable, and flexible. I can adapt to last-minute changes. It's not that I lack focus, I just have my own way of going back and forth from one project to another. I can have 6 projects going on. The other day I was doing something, and I went to do something else, and I came back, oh yeah, I've got that to finish. I often wait until a deadline is near before focusing on or completing a task. I wrote a paper with 2 other women in seminary, and we had conversations about MBTI before we ever did the paper, before we ever agreed to do it, because they were both J's, and they had their papers done 2 weeks ahead of time. They let me take control and put the whole paper together. They gave me their parts and pieces. I gave them the finished paper the same time I gave the professor the finished paper, only because we talked about it ahead of time. I welcome opportunities for spontaneity. I enjoy the unexpected. My way of organizing a room or workspace can seem chaotic to others. The P personality seeks openness. They value flow. They adapt as they go. They like flexibility. Play now, work later. They like to just get in the car and go on vacation, where a J personality, a strong J personality, wants to know every step, where they're going to get gas, where they're going to eat, where they're going to stay the night, make plans, make reservations. As I said, judging does not mean judgmental or opinionated in this context. It means people with this preference like to get decisions made as early as possible. They're more comfortable when issues are resolved. They prefer order and structure. They don't necessarily like to make decisions. It's more that they're uneasy with things being open-ended and incomplete. J may close off information gathering too soon and miss important information. A friend that's a J, she and her husband went to buy a refrigerator. She wanted to buy the first one they saw. He was definitely a P because he had done all of this study ahead of time, and he was not ready to buy the first one. He had to look to see in several different stores what they had. A P personality likes to gather information before making a decision and will keep their options open as long as possible. Making decisions can be stressful because once the decision is made, all other choices are closed off. They don't want to be tied down to their own or others' plans, schedules, or commitments. My daughter used to say, "Mom, will you take me to the mall?" "Yes." "What time?" "Oh, 10-ish. And to me, 10-ish could be 5 minutes till 11. But for Andy, it was 10 o'clock. We worked through that finally. Ps might put off making a decision so long to gather information that they miss the time to act. Ps and Js can drive each other crazy. I have a granddaughter. If I ask her what time it is, she'll say, "It's 9:57 and 30 seconds. And I'll say it's almost 10 o'clock. Ps feel boxed in and pressured by a J's need for plans. J's can feel strung out and anxious by a P's tendency to leave things unplanned and scattered about. Again, these two preferences can complement each other. I need J's in my life to help me move forward, to help me make decisions and make plans. And I have a few J's in my life that need to just chill out a little bit. So, do we have any J's in the group? Okay.
Is MD
It said
6%?
I was a J, but I don't believe it because so many of these Ps, so I'm going like, what did I answer that made me a
Well, you
J?
might go back and look and
I
see.
figured, I thought about taking it again. I didn't have time since I just did it yesterday, but I thought, so many of these, you know, it's hard to make a decision. And, you know, it's like the ish, I'm an ish kind of person. And so I need to, we had a boy. So, you know, I'm going like, there's so many of these kind of fit, but there's a couple on the other side, and I thought, okay.
Well,
you know?
as I started out, if what you end up with from taking the inventory doesn't feel right, search around. That's one of the reasons I gave you the information about the different
Yeah.
personality types, so you could see if there's something else that feels just a little bit more comfortable. You might want to exchange a E for an I or a J for a P or something, and just see what that personality type. And you can go online to where you took the inventory to get more information about the different
Yeah, because
types.
like looking at these things, I'm going like, I do the same thing that you're doing. I'm going like, I start a new project, we finish, I got a whole bunch of projects and, you know, in process. And so I'm thinking, there were a lot of these and just a few of these, and I'm going, you know, but comparing the different lists, so I'm going like, yeah.
I feel like my husband and I, it's amazing, we've been together almost 49 years. But I think we need each other.
Who's what in your marriage?
Well,
He's his mother's
He's-
child as well.
Who's the J and who's the P?
well, it's interesting. I think I'm the P, but I want him to be the J
And the thing is, it sometimes happens that people get married. A lot of times opposite attracts, we've heard that before. But if two people, let's say both people are Ps, one of them's gonna be a stronger, more than likely, one of them's gonna be a stronger P than the other, and they want the other one to take control, to make decisions, to be the J personality, to help move along. That's a common thing to happen. Similar with any of the characteristics. Thinking and feeling, you know, if they're both feelers, one of them's gonna be a stronger feeler, and they'll want somebody else to do the thinking for them, so that they don't have to make decisions and hurt people's feelings, so those are things to think about.
That's very helpful because, you know, when we're working on rentals, I want it done. I mean, I'll have a list and,
Signed and,
Okay.
and yet, at that point in time, he'll get to it when he feels like it.
And this is one of the reasons not to put other people in a box, to let them do the Myers-Briggs on their own. We can kind of make assumptions, but we gotta be careful with doing that. But if two people have this kind of information, can talk it out, and figure out what they need from the other, or what they can offer the other one, those are important things in a close relationship like a marriage. So I think it's fascinating.
So I don't mind being called a J, but I don't like the judging word, because that just
Yeah.
seems like a bad thing.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
you know,
It's a
I
bad
tell my family,
connotation.
you know, that I'm, you know, because I'm a planner, like detailed, I like detail. So I tell my family that I'm a planner, it's a blessing and a curse. Because, you know,
Well, what you said is exactly the reason why I start out by saying I don't use the word judging.
Yeah.
Because it's translated from a Swiss word into the English judging, but that's not a fair translation of the
It's
word.
not really the right description of what a judging person is. They're more organized and goal-oriented and that kind of
Which
thing.
J's are.
Which
But
is a J.
judgmental, a judging person does it in a judgmental way, where
Yeah.
everybody else is wrong. I'm
Yeah.
the only one that can do it right.
right.
But that's not necessarily part of the J
No, it is
personality.
not, it is definitely not.
Okay,
It is definitely not. That's why I don't use the word judging even,
Yeah.
because it can be offensive.
Yeah, it
I'm not gonna- I
is.
don't wanna learn about this
Yeah.
if they're gonna
Yeah.
call me judging or judgmental.
What
So-
word did you
Have
say
enough.
you used?
Pardon?
What word did you say you used for this?
I just use the word J.
Oh, okay.
That way, anybody that knows the Myers-Briggs would know what I'm talking about.
Uh-huh.
What characteristic I'm talking about. The other thing is that, oh gosh, darn it. We read the characteristics and they might not fit quite exactly. And that's where you want to do a little exploring. But what I've given you is the pure information that Myers and Briggs came up with. And it doesn't mean that every P or every J has all of these characteristics, or every extrovert or introvert has these characteristics. We're
they're
very
all
flexible.
continuums.
Thank you,
And
yes,
all
they're
of
all
those.
continuum. Mhm.
That's the beauty of this world. I mean, gosh, if everybody was the same. Boring.
Well, and you know, and as those questions came up, you know, I could kind of go either way, so what do I want to do, you know, so you kind of go, let's just go in the middle. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I navigated it for the most part, but yeah, this judging, 76%. And then as we're talking about it, it's like, yeah, I kind of have to have that to-do list, because 99% of the time, I'm gonna get distracted. I need to have a plan to go back to. And
I
then
just
get
let the distraction
distracted again.
happen,
Yeah.
and then I'll get back to it eventually.
And then get distracted again by something else, an email or something else. Yeah, distraction's my middle name.
Well, of the 5 people that put their names on here, 5 of us are introverts. So,
Go introverts.
5 of us are intuitive, 5 of us are feeling. The difference is in the J and the P. I think that's fascinating. Anyway, moving on.